Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm super excited. We got a great guest coming on here. Please share, and subscribe on YouTube and Rumble also. Tonight, I have a congressional candidate from Louisville, Kentucky. He is a bright young man, and I'm really excited about his run for office because younger generation is kind of turned out for President Trump, and so we need to keep young people engaged so that we can get a good outcome in future elections. People are tired of you know uh, Congress and the Senate, turning into a hospice for these older candidates that we never can seem to get out of office. And so, we need the younger voters and younger candidates tuned in so that we can, continue to get a good outcome and guess, so we can not have these people that are just basically on their deathbeds in office, to be honest with you, because they're not making good decisions. And we need people that are making smart decisions that and understand what's happening with their generation. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on stage Mr. Donald Pay. Thank you for joining me here tonight, Donald. I appreciate you, and I think it's pretty cool that what you're doing, running for office. Just because we don't see a lot of younger people running for office, to be honest with you. So, um, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's talk about your run for office.
Yeah, well, I first of all, thank you for having me. And I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but the crime just took over my community. It got so bad that, on a weekly basis, there'd be a shooting in the back alley, right? And my parents said, we can't raise a kid like this, right? So we moved out to a small town, and that's where I grew up in Taylorsville, Kentucky. And my dad became mayor there. He was outraged that the city was trying to pass an ordinance to make sure that people who owned property here had to pay for their own parking in their own driveway. It's crazy. So he rallied the city. He ran for mayor, won, and his whole objective was just to build up the community. And so, I've had 12 years experience watching my dad firsthand be able to lift up a community that was dying. And so that's my goal here for Louisville, Kentucky, and Jefferson County.
Yeah, that's that's good because that's what it takes. The, Getting into politics is not an easy thing, and like a lot of times it's the people that that we need to get into office are really turned off by the things that they see going on or whatever, so they just don't want to get involved or whatever. But what it takes is something like that, something that you're passionate about, right? You're passionate about your hometown and fixing things or whatever, and that's exactly what we need from you as a candidate, because it's not an easy thing. It's like it's dirty, it's grimy. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and I was like, man, after this election, like, I'm just gonna not do politics. Like, I'm just gonna like turn off. Like, it's so much, and I'm not even a candidate, but like, I'm seeing what happens, seeing how grimy it is, seeing people buying elections, people just threatening people. It's just gross, like what's going on. But you're in there for an honest reason, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And the reason I think so many people are fed up with politics is just because we've just been betrayed so much, right? Like, and I can tell you specifically in Louisville, Kentucky, that's been the case. Murders up. We have our education system failing. Like, there's so many things that Louisvillians feel left behind on. And I know even nationally, like, there are so many things that we would love to see fixed, but we've had politicians going to Washington that just go there for a paycheck. They go there to build a career, and everyone else is left holding the bag.
Yeah. um I don't. Well, you can go into your Democrat opponent. You can go into you don't have to if you don't want to, but like, what are the shortcomings? Like, where do you see where you can improve, where you can add value and kind of help out your community?
Well, definitely. Yeah. So the Democrat incumbent is Morgan McGarvey, and he really hasn't helped the community at all. I mean, he's vehemently against Trump and the America First agenda. He's very much so for big government, right? And he has really just made it his career to be a Washingtonite, like I would call them. He's a Washingtonite. He just wants to go there. He's never really here in the community, but he just wants to go there and help build a career. But the things that we really need, especially here in Louisville, is we need less government, right? We need less restriction on small businesses because, and I was just talking to a business owner this week, is like the regulations that he has to go through is just crushing to the point that if he didn't love what he did, he probably just wouldn't be in business, right? So no, there's a lot of issues going on here with Louisville specifically, but even nationwide, we have to rally the troops.
Right. Yeah. I was talking to somebody a few weeks ago or whatever about similar things, and he was telling me that if they leave their business, right, if they leave their dumpster, like the lid open, or like, just for a certain, like, I don't know what the time is or whatever, but I guess if an inspector comes by and view, they find their business, right? Like, just absolutely ridiculous. Like, they don't have time for that. Like, that's just, and that's why you get, like, these workers are like, man, these rules are really stupid or whatever. Like, why do we got to do all this crap? Or, but that's why, the business is trying to protect themselves from all these dumbass rules. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. And yeah, it's like in, where I'm from in southern Minnesota too, like we're finding farmers for dust from their hay, right? The hay that came from the ground, right? It was just in the ground. Now it's baled, and they were finding them for dust from the hay. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Like that's government overreach 101 right there. Like, it's just, there's no need for it. It came from the ground.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so we have just totally divorced ourselves from what actually made America great. We had liberties, we had freedoms, we had the ability to innovate and really make something of ourselves here in this country. But a lot of that's been stripped away. And I can tell you, my generation has had the American dream stolen from them, not being able to afford a home. And and it's awful. But I think that's why I'm running. That's why I know a lot of patriots are standing up right now. But I have to say, when COVID hit, my father and I, when nothing was going on, everything was on lockdown. I was glad that I got the chance to sit down with him and write the Great American Spy novel based on a true story, and it's about this man who was born and raised in the town I grew up in, and he became a Civil War spy for Abraham Lincoln. And so he would infiltrate the Confederacy. He quickly rose through the ranks and he just turned over every single like plot that they were planning over to Abraham Lincoln and the Union. And it was amazing to see because he was able to thwart a lot of those plans. And because of his testimony in the famous 1864 trial for treason, the Confederacy at that point just had no juice left to go. And so they just vanished. But it's patriots like that and stories like that that really hit home for me, that I would love to see in America where we can actually achieve the American dream again.
Yeah. So where can you get your book? It's like on Amazon and stuff?
Yeah, it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, I've got a link on my website. If you go to my website, you can see the book on there. But it's based on a true story, and I was glad before my father passed that we were able to finish that because it's something that hits home to me, and I know to a lot of people. He influenced a lot of people by stopping the Civil War early. So
I'm gonna try and pull it up here.
yeah, it's called Grundy, the Spy Who Saved a Nation.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put your website here in the chat, right? I'm gonna drop it in the chat so people can find it. Cool. Yeah. When did you publish that?
Yeah, so we published it, I believe it was at the beginning of 2021. So, and made some revisions since then, but But it was one of those father-son projects. Listen, if you've never written a book before, and this is before, the whole AI movement, it's pretty tough. And when we didn't use any AI to it, we just kind of put our heart and soul into it. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it's for me too. I'm writing a book about my military experiences, but it's all based on my experiences and stuff like that. I'm like 2/3 of the way through it, and I get like I'll get like writer's block, and then I'll come back to it, and I'll like take 2 or 3 days where I'm just writing, and then I'll just be like, all right, I need a break or whatever. So
That's
trying
how
to
it is.
yeah. But yeah, good for you for publishing that. That's awesome, and your success there too. So what, like, when did you decide that you were gonna run for Congress? What was the moment where you're like, yep, I'm doing this?
Yeah, well, I think that me and a lot of other Americans, just having watched the last Biden administration, it was a total joke. That really stirred me on to want to run for Congress, and just the crazy spending that's going on in Washington, totally reckless, and to the point where we're paying over $1 trillion just in interest every year. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's really thievery on a massive scale, and it needs to stop. We need to go back to more common sense spending, right? I mean, it's like if you're a family and that would be the equivalent of you maxing out all your credit cards, right? And just to keep on spending. But it's not very responsible. And I think we deserve a government that actually cares for us and actually will have responsibility in their spending. So
Yeah, the you bring up a good point about the Biden era, and I think the best way for people to visualize this is he halved your dollar, right? He made your dollar worth half as much as what it was, right? So you could buy half as much house, you could buy half as much groceries, even gasoline doubled in price, so you could buy half as much gasoline. I think that's the best way to visualize this, because it happened so fast that people didn't know how to like even describe it. And the other part of that is being let down by a supposed conservative Congress too, right? We voted for these things, Doge cuts. We voted for like fiscal responsibility, but they really haven't done that. They had an entire year to balance a budget, and they haven't done anything. Like we passed Chuck Schumer's budget, the CR or what, like he had more input on it than anybody, but basically they were just continuing on. And so we need people to do what they say they were going to do, right? And we didn't get that. We got President Trump. People busted their butt to get President Trump in office, but then you elect a supposed conservative Congress and also Senate, and we also hope Supreme Court or whatever, but like we're not getting the results because they're just not living up to what they said they were going to do, and that's a problem. So we need more conservatives in there, and that's that. I hate it that it happened that way, because it turns voters off, and we need people engaged, and we need people to turn out, so we don't go back to the Biden era, or and then too, like they're gonna try and impeach President Trump too. Like, we know it's coming, so we need conservatives engaged, and we need people like you talking about what's going wrong with it, so that we can fix it too. We got to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah, and we're very close to getting another Biden administration, right? Like if conservatives don't show up, if people don't go to the polls, even like my election, right? It's a non-presidential primary, and that is historically a very low turnout for voters. But that's the reason why a lot of conservatives keep losing, is because we can be so flaky on going to the polls. And I don't point names at anybody else. I'll call myself out. I've been the same way in the past, where there have been elections that I've missed that I haven't gone to the polls for, and that's on me. But no longer, like I'm not gonna do that anymore, because I see the importance of these elections, and it's like every year we get closer and closer to losing our country. And so that's just something that I'm not going to stand for anymore. And that's why I'm standing up here to run, because I think we would be in a much better place if every conservative who can vote, and we only want the people who can vote legally, but every conservative who can vote, we would lose so much less of the races that we've lost in the past. We would lose much less if we just got out and vote and we just stayed unified.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's well said. And I don't know how to convey it, to conservatives. Scott Pressler has been screaming about it. We need to stay engaged. We need to stay, like, he's right. Like, it's just, but the thing is like, I've talked to people or whatever, and we got an election coming up here in Georgia, and the voting starts in 12 days, right? Early voting starts in 12 days. And I promise, if I walk down the street and I talk to everybody on that street, I'm telling you right now, maybe 30% know that there's an election coming up. And the only reason they know is because there's so many damn signs out there right now, which is a good thing. That brings attention to it. People are seeing these signs or whatever, but like most of them do not even care, and which is a problem, because I live in conservative Georgia, right? And most people are like, if we had a huge turnout in Georgia, there would be this red wave or whatever, but people are turned off. They're tired of being let down, to be honest with you. And so I don't know. I'm trying to keep them engaged. I'm trying to express the importance of it, because I don't want to have their dollar again. Like, yeah. I have kids that I want to, move out of my house and be able to buy their own houses. And, they're both in college, and, they got to afford a house and stuff like that. And they got to start their lives or whatever. But, it's really tough right now.
Yeah, it is. And, and unfortunately, you're right. There's a lot of conservatives that, feel betrayed. They feel let down. And I sympathize with that. But the answer isn't, choosing not to go to the polls, right? We still need to show up. If anything, we need to show up even more whenever we feel betrayed, because that means that we need to take our country back, right? We need to rally the troops together. So I appreciate shows like yours where, you're keeping people engaged, right? You're reaching out to the audience and making sure that everyone is informed and up to date on what's going on, because if we're not, an uninformed public is a public that's easy to deceive. And that's what we've seen for a long time. But I think with shows like yours and podcasts and all the popularity with social media, I think it's getting less and less. And I think people are thinking for themselves a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. And, for me, like I whatever, like I'm on Twitter and stuff like that a lot, and X and YouTube, Rumble, TikTok or whatever. But like, those are where I go for my news sources. And the reason being is you're going to get the mainstream media version of it on there also, but two, like, there's people cutting through the spin. There are people out there researching. There's people out there looking into it, and there's a lot of crap out there also, but you're going to find the truth on these social media platforms, and people getting exposed. A good example is the Swalwell exposure, right? I don't think that, we got that dude to leave Congress or whatever if that was just left up to the media. I think they would have just glazed over it, and he would probably still be in office. He would probably still be running for governor, and they would have protected him. But the thing is like, social media, we don't care. Like, they're ruthless. They're going to go after the truth, and they're going to expose them. And it was just too much. They're coming at him from every different angle. And so good on them, because, he's a total scumbag. And the more that we find out about him or whatever, like, he should be in prison. But the thing is social media did that. Social media is outing that dude, and for good reason. And so that's one thing that I love about X is it's stuff like that, because we just can't have these people representing us.
Yeah. And I think the sad thing about it is that apparently a lot of people knew about it, right? But
Right.
nothing was ever done,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, with news being on X now as kind of like the focal point, it's like second by second, it's real time, which is very different. We've never had that in all of our human history. So it is it is interesting, but I think it also gives people a much more resources to be able to come up with their own opinion and also see things for as they are and not the way that some organization wants to spin them, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean that's, a lot of the stuff that I'll post or whatever. Like I'll look at a news article or something and I'll cut through the spin. I'll be like, this is actually what's going on, and I can just see right through their headline. Like it's I just like shred it because it's so it's ridiculous. But people like my grandmother and stuff like that, they read it and they take it as gospel because they think that journalism was all, still an honest trade, and it's not. It's really just propaganda anymore. So,
Right.
but so how's your run been going? How are you? You've been out talking to people. Like, what's that been like so far?
Yeah, the run's been going great. We're building a lot of momentum, and I was actually just at an event earlier today in really in the heart of Louisville, where people were gathering. They were talking about harm reduction, helping the people that are struggling with addiction, things like that, and that is a big issue here in Louisville. And really that and the fact that there's been over 5,000 violent crimes in the last year is crazy. But no, there's a lot of people that are hurting there, and there were a lot of candidates. And I can tell you this: there was no Democrat establishment candidate there because they don't want to show up, right? They don't want to be on the ground and have to face the people that they failed. So that's one reason why I'm running, is that we need to meet the people where they're at and make sure that they actually have a voice in Washington, because they don't have big money behind them to get their message out, right? These are just people struggling, right? And so that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm showing up. So
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to Louisville, but is there like high homeless population and stuff there? Like a lot of the, same as a lot of big cities, I guess, I would assume.
yeah, well, and Louisville in particular was a sanctuary city for 8 years, right? So I believe it was from 2017 to 2025. And the only reason that they reversed that was because the Democrat mayor caved by the federal government withholding funds, right? And so he caved, he turned it over, but that's the only reason it's not a sanctuary city right now. Otherwise, it has been for a while. And so
Thank God he caved.
yeah, right. That
Guys,
was probably the only thing good that he's done. But yeah.
right. Yeah. And, have you seen ICE in working in your area, or is that going on or no?
So not so much right now, because there is a bit of cooperation in terms of the policy that Louisville has, that they are working on them, but working with ICE, but it's not a huge involvement, really, and it's good that they are, because there's a lot of all the Democrats, they don't want to work with ICE, right? They don't really want to solve the problem, right? They're just trying to conflate inflammatory arguments with passion filled speeches, but at the end of the day, it's not helping anybody, right? So and it's funny because Kentucky is that really weird state, because full Republican conservative legislature, but we have, and I'll call them the unholy trinity. We've got Andy Beshear, the governor, and we've got Mayor Craig Greenberg, the liberal Democrat, and then we've also got Morgan McGarvey, who holds the seat that I'm running for. But those three are really the issue of Kentucky. Everything else, I mean, we're very conservative. I mean, Trump won it in a landslide. He never comes to Kentucky because he doesn't have to, right? He knows he's got Kentucky's vote. But it's really those three that are the issue, that are really slowing down our progress here and really stopping a lot of the conservative movement.
Yeah, for sure. That's that we have similar things here in Georgia too. Like is a red state. We got for what it's worth, we got a Republican governor or whatever. But I have my concerns about him. But he's done. He's termed out. So, but then we got two blue senators. Like it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, and the election integrity. I'll just say it. The election integrity is why we got them. There wasn't, and but that's the thing is it just looks absolutely ridiculous that we have these two blue senators in this red state. It's just ridiculous, and I can't wait to send them on their way. And with a little bit of election integrity, we absolutely will send them on their way. But
Yeah.
just ridiculous. But they they vote to completely undermine everything that Georgia wants, and that's a problem. And so
Yeah.
just yeah, just
Well, and the interesting thing about it, I find the whole, two-party system very fascinating because, if and this has been studied before, but whenever just regular people on the street, the regular American public are polled and they're just asked political questions, without party affiliation, just kind of, hey, where do you land on these issues? Most people are more in the populist area, right, of what they believe in. Most people are a little bit more right of center. And so it is funny, though, to me that it seems like we have such a great divide, but really we're not. If we just take the two-party system out, we're really not that divided as Americans. Not that much.
yeah. Well, the thing is like the and I'll use Elon's idea of an American, whatever the American Party, America First Party. I don't know what that was called, but um, what's concerning is the majority of them would come from conservatives. The majority of the people would come from conservatives. So now you split the conservative vote, which is concerning, right? Because now Democrats are going to win. They're going to beat you or whatever. And so Democrats would love it if we split the conservative vote. And so it's really challenging because, like you said, we're a lot of people would like to be a little bit more conservative, or they would like to have a little bit more honesty and integrity from our politicians. And allowing the GOP to continue and just unchecked or whatever is creating this kind of uniparty thing or whatever. It's a problem, and I don't know the best way to solve it. And Elon also recognizes the problem. I think most people recognize the problem, but the thing is like, how do we do it smartly to where we don't divide the conservative votes and basically just give everything to Democrats? I don't know. I've heard a few different things floated, but it's a challenge, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure the way we can do it. I think most people would like to do it though.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like to do it, but as you said, the only reason we really still have that two-party system is because we don't want to lose.
Right.
And I get that, but we're already seeing the divide right now. Even in the Republican Party, whether it's the GOPers, whether it's the MAGA movement or the America First party, so it's already kind of in its own factions, right? And so we are already kind of divided. But I think the only way it might actually happen is if people just decide that the Republican Party is just not what we want to follow anymore, and we want a kind of new, rebuilt America, America First Party, and that just replaces the Republicans. Maybe, I'm not sure, but clearly there's a need and there's a demand, and I think that we will get to the point one day where we do see a change because people are dissatisfied with both parties right now, and I get it.
Yeah, well, especially people like Mitch McConnell, right? I'll just say, like
Mhm.
the Lindsey Graham, like people are not happy with these people and the results we're getting from them. And Mitch McConnell is basically a Democrat now. Like it's just like everything that President Trump wants, he's just going to vote against it just to spite him. It's just ridiculous. We voted for President Trump. We want what President Trump is trying to do, and he's just obstructing everything just because I don't know. I don't know if he's, his benefactors are influencing him or he's just a spiteful old man. I don't know, but we need to get him out of office.
Well, I don't think you can accumulate that much power that Mitch McConnell has without owing people favors.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I know that it's probably hard for a lot of the American public to see it from their vantage point, but I'm sure a lot of the crazy things that we see in Washington are just people owing other people favors. And that's what it is. And that's the unfortunate state that we're in right now.
Right. Yeah. Like it was like getting, centering Ilhan Omar. Like it seemed like a no-brainer or whatever. With the Republican held Congress, we should have been able to do that, no problem or whatever. Even the vice president is talking about like she probably committed immigration fraud and stuff, and they didn't vote to censure her. Like I just don't get it. Like it doesn't make any sense. But you know, the influence thing, they're being told not to do it by somebody, or whatever. Because what do they care? What do they care if you're in Florida or something like that? You don't care about, if you censure, Ilhan Omar in Minnesota. She's a Democrat, for one, and two, it has nothing to do with where you are. So it's no no loss for you. You should be able to easily vote for that because she's like JD Vance said, she's probably committed immigration fraud. She probably should not be in Congress. Like she's done things that are that bad, and so
Yeah.
it's just frustrating that we couldn't do that, and to watch our Republican held Congress vote against that is just stupid.
Yeah, it is. It really kind of makes you question where their loyalties are and everything like that. But I think Congress would be a lot better if we had the requirement that you have to be born in America and you can't have any dual citizenship at all. And also if we had term limits, right? That would stop a lot of the career building for people there. And I think if we had those three things, we would be a lot better off. We'd have a much more honest and transparent Congress. And I think that would be a lot better for the American people. If that's going to happen, who knows? But those would be three things that I would be supportive of.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a national vote.
Yeah.
They would have to put and the American public would resoundingly vote for term limits. There's no way that we wouldn't. But the problem is we leave it up to Congress, and they're not going to vote to turn themselves out. They're just not going to. So it has to be a national vote. That's the way it has to be, and I don't know how you get that on the ballot. But I think that's how you get it done, because they're just never going to vote to put themselves out of a job, I don't believe. And they're good on you. And hopefully you get into Congress, and hopefully you can push for that, because there are some members who would push for that, that are honest and would like to see that also. But I think the majority of them that don't, they want to become 100 millionaires, honestly.
Yeah, they'll definitely vote themselves raises every year for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually stopping the crazy spending and all of the favors, no, they're not going to stop that.
Right.
But no, that's the thing though. I think if we have enough voices like yourself, like me standing up running, I think that we could see a huge resurgence of patriotism in this country again. But that's why we just can't stop fighting. We have to keep pushing, because otherwise, I mean, what else are we going to do? Just give our country up? We have nowhere else to go.
Yeah, hell no. Yeah, originally, I was doing spaces and stuff like that, and a lot of that was around the 2024 election, and we had a lot of political candidates. We had some other ones. We had medicals, people on there. We had movie stars. We had a lot of different people that would come on there, but the majority of it was political. And my former co-host Kimmy, she commented here tonight, but I told her, I was like, I need to get away from politics. Like, I need to do more shows that aren't about politics. But the thing is like, if you turn away from it, then you're just watching it crash into the ground. And I was just like, man, I can't get away from it, because if I do, then I'm not helping these people out, right? I'm not helping you, because conservatives are not going to, like, the media is not going to help you. You guys are going to be suppressed on social media. You guys are going to be, you're fighting an uphill battle. And if I don't try and help you guys out, then we're never going to win. And so I was like, you know what? I just got to stay engaged and keep doing that, keep doing the show, and keep trying to help you guys out. Keep, posting clips of your guys, interviews and stuff like that. That way I can help you guys get out there, get your message out there, because nobody else is going to help you do it. I have to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your service, not only in the military, but also here on social media, because we do need it. And it's unfortunate that, the establishment media is that way. At least we have people like you. At least we have, social media, X, Elon, all of that, to make sure that it is, because it should be a fair, open, town square. It really should, where people can have an honest debate again. I think there's so much. I think one of the reasons why it's hard for people to have an open and honest debate is I think there's so much pressure from Washington, so much corruption there that it gets passed down even to the local level of inflammatory, arguments back and forth, because that is a precise weapon that's been used to stop the American people from actually coming together and realizing, oh, actually, we do agree on a lot of stuff. Yeah, okay, perfect. If we're united, then that means the establishment's weak. And so, of course, they don't want that. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of that. But if we can restore an honest debate again, I think we'd be a lot better off as a country.
Yeah, for sure. And it's hard for me to look people in the face and tell them too, like, all it takes for you to, like, we can really change things. We can honestly, and people are discouraged because they don't get the result from conservative politicians or whatever that they said they were going to do. And we didn't get the election integrity that we wanted in here in America with the Save America Act. We didn't get that. And so it's hard for me to, like, because a lot of people were like, well, my vote doesn't really matter because look, we still aren't getting good results. We put in all this effort or whatever. We got President Trump in there. But the thing is like, it's if you do stand up, if we do stand together, if we do show up to vote or whatever, we can make it happen. We should prove that with President Trump, right? We didn't have election integrity, but we showed up in force and we overwhelmed the system with our votes. And so your vote, you do have a lot of power, but the thing is you got to stay engaged. You have to come up. We have to show up for conservatives right now who need us. Otherwise, we're going to go right back to what we had under Biden, and nobody wants that. Like, it's just, I'm not sure how to help people understand. I know Scott Pressler's been screaming about it. Like, we got to stay engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's certainly not easy, especially if you're, fighting for what's right. You don't have institutional, money and influence behind you. You're just trying to make sure that the country stays better and fight it off against the people who don't want that. Then, yeah, it is going to be hard. We're going to have some losses, and it's certainly not going to be easy. But even that, to me, makes it even more of a necessity to keep pushing on the gas. We have to keep pushing. And it might take taking a look at how we've been presenting our message and how we've been, getting everyone organized. I mean, we might have to just change strategy here because if it's going to be very inconsistent for the conservatives to win as it has been, then we need to reassess, but we have to keep pushing forward no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. So early voting let me look at it. When does early voting start? Last day to register is April 20th.
Yeah.
And then your election day is May 19th. That's the same as Georgia, but early voting starts in Georgia on the 27th is when that starts. And I don't see it for Kentucky, but
so the excused absentee voting, that's going to be, I think, starting in May 6th. But the in-person no excuse voting, that's going to be, I believe, on May 14th.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for Georgia, we have like a month of early voting or whatever. And I'll be honest with you, I use early voting. But myself and my two sons will use early voting. But yeah, it just, I just can't express, how important this is and how important it is to show up for you guys, because we need you guys in office. We need you winning. We need you voting on the things that we're, trying to get passed in our country, because we can't go backwards. We cannot. It's like, we can't have our dollars again. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, I can't, like, home price can't double again because it's not worth double again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, they just, you're right. I mean, they've made thievery legal, on the public stage here. So no, we have to stop it. The reckless spending is just crushing American families, and we have to put an end to it.
For sure. Well, have had you here for about an hour. Where can people find you? What do you got going on? What events you got coming up? Tell people about you and where they can find out more about you and come see you.
Sure. Yeah, you can go to my website, donaldpay.com, or you can follow me on X, Donald W. Pay. And no, we've got some events lined up here. I mean, obviously, being in Kentucky, Louisville Derby's right around the corner. So that's going to be a really big event. We're going to have multiple things lined up for that. But no, I appreciate you having me on. It was real fun. I had a good time. And yeah, I wish you all the best as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And DonaldPay.com. Follow them on. You're on X. You're on what other social platforms are you on?
Facebook, I've got a Facebook page, Donald Pay for Congress 2026, and YouTube as well, Donald Pay. So
YouTube, Facebook. Follow him there. Check him out. Check out his website. I posted it in the YouTube chat. For some reason, it didn't post to X, but I'll post your link in the X chat too after we're done with this. Check him out on his socials. Check him out on his website. Help support him. Let's get this dude into office. Donate if you can. I appreciate you coming out here tonight, sir, and we'll post some clips from the show. That way your followers can check out some of the bits and pieces if they weren't able to watch the whole show. And yeah, I just appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you stepping up to the plate. Honestly, it's not a easy road to hoe, and you know, it's tough what you're doing. You basically dox yourself, and you know, you put yourself out there though. You know, you just I appreciate, you know, people willing to step up to the plate, people willing to, you know, put themselves out there and be vulnerable for the greater good of the country. So thank you for doing that.
yeah, of course, that's what I was going to say. It's all for this country, and I laid down my life for it. So
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Have a good night. I appreciate you, and check out some of our clips when we post them. So I appreciate you, and thank you for what you're doing.
thank you so much. God bless, brother. Appreciate
All right,
it.
brother. Have a good one. All right, there you have it. Donald Pay, fantastic young man. Really excited that, you know, young people are getting involved in politics because we got to get some of these dinosaurs out of office, and we need real conservatives voting on the things that we wanted. We need to pass a budget. We need to get election integrity. We need to do all these different things that we're not seeming to get right now because we don't have a Congress that's supporting President Trump. So for you, please stay engaged. Please check out when your primary voting dates are, your early voting dates. Take advantage of those things. Get your family involved. Take your kids, bring your friends. Look over the ballots. Georgia's, at least in my area, we got a huge ballot because we have governor, lieutenant governor, we have Senate, we have Congress, we have all these different things on the ballot, plus some local things or whatever. So make sure you're looking over those things. If you know, on your state website, check out the ballot because I took a sample ballot and I went through it with my sons, and we looked up candidates to make sure that we were voting for the ones that we wanted, especially in the nonpartisan elections. So that's where they can sneak some people in on you, or you can show up to the poll and not know exactly who you're voting for because they don't have a D or an R by their name. So take a look at your sample ballots. Make sure you check those out because make sure you're voting for the right people. So without further ado, I appreciate everybody that showed up tonight. Appreciate you for watching. Thank you for the comments. Please like, reshare. Follow me on X, follow me on YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, and check out some of the clips from tonight's show. So without further ado, have a good night.